Alright, welcome back to another kayak video. I'm working on the hatches today. We're going to be doing just the hatch combings, which is the spacer underneath, and then the shelf that holds the foam tape that the hatch sits down onto. So we need to cut out some combings. And I cut everything out by hand with the jigsaw again, using the metal blade that had a lot of teeth per inch. And anyway, so I'm just getting things loosely fit into place to check spacing and whatnot. Everything goes so much quicker on the video. In real life, it's kind of a pain in the butt. And if these cameras survive this, I'll be amazed. Just getting them trimmed into place. I cut them a little bit big on purpose just to have excess to trim off rather than not enough and have to do it all over again. And now I'll get it all glued down. I still laugh to think that I used to do this without wearing gloves. I used to get covered in epoxy. Although somehow I take the gloves off and my hands are still covered in epoxy. I don't know if these gloves are too weak, but somehow I still get sticky by the end. Oh well, it's good for you. If you're wondering why these two pieces of wood are different colors, one of them is just a scrap piece of Occam and the other is a scrap piece of sapelli. I never throw away wood. Need more clamps. It's funny, the plastic on those clamps does not stick to epoxy, but the metal clamps I just put on, they wanted to stick. I'm lucky they came off. So now you see I've added sawdust to my epoxy. I'm making the peanut butter to goop on. I don't know what other people call it. I just call it peanut butter. And that'll work. Now it's dried off and I'm pulling off the clamps. Go ahead and get ready for the shelf. That's just the spacer. We'll trim off the excess and then we'll get the shelf glued on. You'll see what I mean with the little bit of excess. So we'll just trim those back. Now I don't recommend that you actually do anything you see me doing. A Dremel with a carbide cutting wheel is way too aggressive, and if you slip you'll screw up the whole thing. So don't do what I do. This is not a how-to video. Yeah, don't. That stands for all these videos. Don't do anything you see me doing. I'm an idiot. Don't do what I say or what I do. But once I get a tool in my hand, I kind of tend to stick with it until I decide otherwise. So we're trimming back the shelves, and once they fit well, we'll start gluing those in place too. You want to get everything covered in epoxy. You don't want any bare wood left anywhere on the boat, because if water gets into it, it'll just cause it to, rot out over time. So everything's got to be watertight. And then when you go cutting or sanding or grinding away at anything, you want to go back and cover it with epoxy again. And that'll happen a few times here. But we'll get them finger painted on and then clamped into place, and then we'll add more peanut butter. This is almost meditative. There's something very relaxing about doing this. I'd say building a boat is almost as nice as using a boat. We'll add some more sawdust and stir up the peanut butter. Basically just try to put a bead all the way around and then smooth it out with my finger, kind of like caulking a sink or something. Alright, I guess it's the next day and that's set, so we'll take a look. We'll fill that in. So it looks good. It doesn't have to be totally pretty, obviously no one's ever going to see that. But it's structurally sound. And then we'll be ready to trim this back. This is the foam tape that's going to go on that. So I'm looking at the width, and I want to get the width of that tape to see just how wide that shelf needs to be. Once I mark it off on both hatches, I'll go ahead and start trimming. You see I'm using a different tool here. That carbide cutting wheel was way too eager to just chew on everything, so I figured I'd need a higher precision cutting tool, so I busted out the old whatever it's called. But for the corners, you see I went back to the Dremel, and it just eats wood, so don't sneeze. Now I'm just filing back a little bit of the excess glue and wood and just checking the fit. Very nice. That'll work. That'll work. Well, that takes care of the hatches for now. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one. We're going to start in on the... what am I doing? The cockpit combings. Oh boy. Alright, stay tuned for that. Later.